Welcome to the Intentional Success Podcast, where we unpack the top strategies, explore business trends, and drill down into best practices to help your live events production business grow and scale on purpose. I'm your host, Tom Stimson. Welcome, everybody, to the podcast. I want to talk about 5 things. Actually, it may be more than that. Maybe it's 10 things. We'll count them up when we're done. 5 things you need to complete before 2024. These are the things that you just need to knock out. You just need to get past all of your fears so that we can start next year with all of our baseline stuff out of the way. Here's why I'm looking at this right now. In scalable companies, your employees should always be working at their highest and best use. And if we do that, we're going to improve our profit. We're going to reduce our labor intensity for everyday things. And we're going to be worth more to our customers because we are going to be available for them when they need us. And we're not going to be doing some of the silly stuff that we're doing now because, well, we haven't fixed all of our processes. So let's get started on that journey. Let's get rid of the low-hanging fruit that's holding you back from all the wonderful changes that you can enjoy once you become more scalable. But let's get the little stuff out of the way. Let's knock it out, get it done. We'll start the new year fresh. The first thing you need to do, if you have not done it in the past 6 months, is I want you to take a hard look at your labor and equipment balance. Open up your P&L, run a trailing 12 months report, look at the total equipment sold versus the total labor sold. And if they are not equal, or if labor is not higher than equipment, you've got some work to do. Because when labor subsidizes equipment rental, we will see labor under 40% of total billings, right? If you're a full service event production company, labor under 40% of total billings tells me you are subsidizing low labor prices by trying to get higher margin on equipment or other services. And it's not that we don't want the higher margin on equipment and other services. Labor is the wrong thing to subsidize your P&L, right? We have hard costs in labor. We have a lot of risk in labor. So take a quick look, see what your ratio is of equipment to labor, and then review your labor costs. Start with all of your outside labor positions. What do you pay for those positions versus what you're charging? Okay. 30% is the absolute bare minimum you should be making on any given day. For most of your skilled labor, you should be making 50% margin. Why? Because those people are hard to find. They're hard to source. There's not a ton of them. There's scarcity. They're much more valuable, and they will make or break your show. So you need to raise your labor rates to reflect the marketplace. And I know what the grumbling is going to sound like in the sales team. I hear it all the time. But this is what it costs to find good people. If we cannot find and pay for good people, we have nothing to sell. And if we are finding and paying for good people, then we need to be selling it. So reduce the objections to your labor rates by making your equipment pricing more palatable, right? Now, before you start discounting equipment a lot more, look at your key subrentals. What are the things that you subrent all the time? Can you continue to quote them, subrent them for a project, and make money? If you can't, you need to fix your pricing. So update your equipment pricing after you update your labor. Rebalance those two things, because now a job that was $100,000 before and had $40,000 in labor and $50,000 in equipment might now have $50,000 in labor and $40,000 in equipment, right? That is going to instantly make that job more profitable. Trust me. If the amount of labor increases, the profit's going to track with it. If the amount of labor decreases, the profit's going to track with it. The volatility is in the labor. So make sure you've got good margins there. Now, if you have staff people, if you still have people on staff who are direct labor that you put out on shows, if we are honest with ourselves, we should charge more for them than we charge for outside labor. Why? You're providing them full-time employment and benefits, right? You're making them available to a consistent basis for your clients. You can give them the same person every year because they're your employee. That is worth more money. Charge what your people are worth. It is an insult to them to say, oh, well, we charge the same for you or for a freelancer, but we control your life. No, charge more for those people. But if you can't, if you can't get there yet, at least get all of your labor pricing sorted out. Now, moving on to another thing that eats up a lot of our time and energy and cuts into our profits is our confirmation deadlines. When you quote a job, you should be putting this quote is good until date on it. If you quote a job without knowing when the client thinks they can confirm it or not, you haven't done your due diligence. You haven't done sales 101. I realize we may not always get a budget out of the client, but we can get a deadline out of them. And if their answer is we don't know, then we're going to give them a deadline, right? You don't know what your deadline is. I know what mine is. This quote is good for 2 weeks. If we're 6 months out, maybe it's good for 30 days. That's all it needs to be good for. So use confirmation deadlines. I mean, seriously, the rates quoted in this proposal are based on a confirmation by this date. This project will be re-estimated after that date if you're not confirmed by that time. You have every right to do that. Your cost basis is going to change, right? The availability of people is going to change. Your schedule may change. You may not want to re-quote. Wouldn't that be awesome? Because you've gotten so busy with other jobs. So, step one, put a confirmation date on there. Make it as short as you possibly can. If the client wants to wait until 4 weeks out to confirm a major show, just say no. Say, we need at least 6 weeks out confirmation. Here's how it works. All right. Now, when you're putting these quotes together, particularly for these more complex jobs, but even small jobs require some of this, charge a design fee if it's a custom estimate. If the client's coming to you and they want a solution, they want you to figure out how to do this, that's custom. Your solutions may not be custom. You may solve a custom problem with standard solutions. That's not the point. The point is they need a solution and you should charge them a design fee for that. And you should charge them for that estimate, whether they do the job with you or not. Offer a refund or a credit or apply it to the job if it's awarded to you. But if they want you to figure out, particularly with your agency clients who are out there trying to win business, they go, oh, well, we want you to be our partner. So help us develop this proposal, get this budget together, and then you'll get to do the work. I'm sorry, they may have the best intentions of doing that, but they're going to take it out to bid. So they haven't won the work yet. They need to know what it's worth. You're providing something that's extremely valuable to them. Charge them for it. Everybody else that they're working with to develop their estimate for their client is charging them for work. The designer's charging them, the copywriter is charging them, the graphics people are charging them. Why shouldn't you be charging them? Charge a design fee for custom estimates. If you have to do a site survey, design a site survey process and charge for it. Now, a simple site survey where you just walk out there and meet the client and check on power, fine. Still have a site survey process. You could include it for free, but have a deliverable. If you don't have a deliverable for the most basic site survey, you're never going to be able to charge for the site surveys where you're having to take complex measurements and you're having to get into a whole lot of detail about the venue and how to move things around. Site surveys can take an entire day and more to be done properly. So make sure you define what these processes are for the sales site survey, which is just a site visit with the client to go, oh yeah, the screen would look great here. But they still need to fill out that form and create that deliverable, because if you put that in with your proposal, you just raise the value of your proposal. So whenever you can, and a good thing to do this time of year is figure out how you do your pre-production processes. Write down all the steps. And if you can design your pre-production processes and say, this is how we do things, then you can sell your pre-production processes. And you can call it technical direction services or production design and planning, but you can make this also part of your quote. So when you put the quote together, it starts off with pre-production and planning. Here's what that costs. It's probably 20% of the entire quote, right? And that's going to help them understand what it is that you're bringing to the party. It'll make more sense when we talk about how you get paid. So before I jump into that, I need to remind you the other thing is you've got to change your terms on getting paid. No more of this 50% down, net 30 or 50 here, 50 there. Your payments, and we learned this at the beginning of pandemic, but I got to remind you to do this again because we're sliding back, is upon confirmation, you should get paid for all that pre-production design and planning because that work is engaged. You are now going to do that work and you may get it done in a matter of days or hours, but the point is you're going to do the work and you're going to commit the resources to doing it and therefore you should be paid. So that is your first invoice. When they confirm the job, you send them the bill for pre-production and planning. It is due immediately, but you do not start work until you've been paid. Now, what else you got to do? Well, 30 days out from the job, you should collect any remaining labor, travel, trucking, anything that's hard costed or contracted. You've got contracts out, purchase orders placed. All of that needs to be collected, get paid for that piece of it. And then 1 week out, collect the balance, which is basically the rental equipment, the production rental side of your offer. So you can collect that out. So if you're not doing 3 billings, then you are not capturing all the value that you can. And you're chasing money, which is not the highest and best use of anybody's time when we could have done something simple to prevent that. So, refund policies. Update your refund policy. There are no refunds for work begun. When they confirm the job and you start the pre-production and planning process and they make that payment, that is work begun. You do not have to refund it. They can cancel the job. You stop work. You keep the money. It's only fair. You committed the resources. Likewise, you get 30 days out. You've got all this labor booked. You've got all these purchase orders out for logistics. You've bought airfare. You've collected that money. They canceled the job. We're square. I'm going to pay all my people. I'm going to pay all my credit card bills. And we are good. Thank you, dear customer. And then that last bit, that 1 week out, getting paid for the equipment means you can have the truck loaded. They can cancel the job and you are now paid in full, as you should be because you committed the resources. Now, there's going to be one more invoices because there's always changes on site and there's add-ons and oh, by the ways, and I get that. But don't be afraid of sending out multiple invoices. We just like them to be smaller and paid on time is all we're really asking here. Now, this also brings me to the idea of don't try to cram multiple projects into one proposal, right? And don't confuse the number of proposals with the number of invoices or the number of payments you expect to get. And if the salesperson screams, but my client wants one invoice. Sorry, they can have one invoice, but unless they pay 100% up front, there's going to be several payments due, right? So they're going to have an easier time of getting you paid if you make an invoice for each stage of progress. Which brings me to another thing. It's going to be 2024, folks. Ask for digital confirmation. It's real easy to put a deadline on a quote on a digital confirmation system where they have to do an e-signature because after the confirmation date, they can still see the quote, but they can't sign it, right? So get up with the times, right? You can present the proposal electronically. I don't care if you still attach a PDF or whatever it is you want to do. Make it where they can go into any one of the numerous platforms for presenting a proposal, getting a confirmation, and oh, by the way, getting paid digitally. So you should also be getting paid online. If you are still waiting for a check or excited when you see a check, Oh my God, you're older than me. Never ask anyone to write a check. Never wait for a check, right? Again, it's 2024. Get paid online. Oh, Tom, the credit card fees. Yeah. It's the cost of doing business, right? Figure that into your price. Charge them for it if that's what you want to do. But what you're doing is saying, hey, I like you better if you write me a check and drop it in the mail and it takes a week or 10 days for me to get it versus I want to get paid now. Get the money now. Trust me, you're charging more money. The profit's there. You'll be fine. Get over it. But never ask anyone to write a check for you because you're afraid of credit cards or you're afraid of digital transactions. It's not a good look. Now, another thing before we get into this next year, if you find that you're still trying to win a job on price, well, we need to work on that too. It's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. There's no way to get 100% away from it. But if you haven't done a lot of the other things I've talked about, then you are still probably regularly writing proposals for jobs that you desperately want to win, and you are sharpening your proverbial pencil. We can still say sharpen a pencil, but we can't get paid online. I haven't figured that one out. So you're sharpening up your pencil on that thing. If revenue is more important to you than the quality of that revenue, in other words, the acceptable profit from a best fit client, if the revenue is more important than profitability in a best fit clients, then here's how you do it. Here's how you quote to win. Number one, set the shortest confirmation deadline you possibly can, right? Show them that you are serious. Only quote the baseline equipment and labor needed to do the job as requested. Do not put a single extra in there. Put the equipment in at the best price that you could possibly stomach. If it's an 80% discount on equipment, that's fine. Put that in there, but all of your people should be at your new labor rates. Write a list of all the things this does not include. This is very important because when you're in these conversations where we're going to go to the lowest bidder, there's a lot of stuff thrown around out there about, well, we'd love to have that. Oh, I bet we could do that. Be absolutely explicit about what's included and what is not included. Now, you can include a few optional pricing for some of the exclusions. Oh, did you really want to record that? It wasn't in the RFQ. So if you do, here's what that would cost. You mentioned that you might like this, but it's not in the RFQ. Here's what that would cost. And when it's all said and done, offer another 5% for payment in full 1 week from confirmation. Payment in full, not the 3 or 4 stage payments, payments in full. Send them a credit card authorization. Ask to be connected to accounting before you send the proposal over so that all of the payments can be secured immediately upon confirmation. Show them that you're serious and you'll have a much better, if you do win the job one, you're going to win on fair terms, you're going to get paid, and you're not going to be asked to do things that weren't part of the quote. You'll reduce your scope creep. But more importantly, you'll make it clear that you are there to do business and not to be trifled with. This will reduce your labor intensity. It will reduce the amount of back and forth you're going on for people saying, hey, somebody else's quote came in lower. I've already given you my lowest quote. Right? If you got to sell on price and you need that job, be serious about it, step up to the plate and do it. But don't forget to do these other things that will help make you more scalable, help your people reserve their time for things that are much more important, such as finding better customers, writing that next quote of high quality gross profit. So figure out your labor pricing, rebalance your equipment to labor ratio, use confirmation deadlines and be serious about them, right? Change your terms and get paid. Put a clause in there that says, if you do not make a payment by the time it is due, we will stop work on the project and we are not obligated to move forward. You see this in contracts all the time. So you can do this too. Update your refund policy to no refunds. It's work in progress. I can't refund work in progress. We've already incurred the cost. And then instead of trying to cram multiple projects into one proposal, you can treat each project like its own proposal and treat each element of a proposal as something that can be paid separately. So don't fall into that trap that, well, we're doing a show, everything has to be crammed into one proposal called the show. It doesn't. You are doing a process. You are selling a process. It may take 2 weeks. It may take 20 weeks to do this show. There's going to be multiple invoices. There might be multiple proposals. That's how business is done in 23 and for you in 24. So thanks for listening. I wanted to get those things off my chest. Go out there, start selling, get ready for a wonderful new year. Talk to you soon. If you want to find out more about today's episode, go to trstimson.com/podcast, where you'll find the show notes, related links, and tons of other valuable resources. If you haven't already subscribed to the Intentional Success Podcast, please do so, and I'd greatly appreciate if you would rate and review the show. Also, if you think you might be a good fit to work together or want more information about the Stimson Group, I'd love to hear from you. Visit trstimson.com for more information.